Hey everyone, so this is the video that we are doing the questions that my Aunt April has given me. The first question that we're going to be doing in this video is about Adam and Eve. The question is, given that Adam and Eve were the only two people that God created, how did any of their children have kids? And when you think about it, you would just say, and this is the answer that most theologians will give, but not all of them. The answer is they took as spouses from their own family line. So Cain found someone within his own family and had kids with her. Same with all of their other children. Now, the more interesting thing about this would be that given that Cain was cursed and was separated from his family, things like that, he would have had to have found someone else that would be willing to go along with him in his curse. That's an interesting thing. Think about that. Who would be willing to go along with someone who was just cursed? Well, if it was a very small family, probably not many people. But if it was a very big family, like I'm thinking, and I think that can be argued for, there might have been a few people that would have been willing to go with Cain. Now, how many kids could Adam and Eve have had? And what would the effects of incest be on them? Also, is incest immoral during this time period? All good questions. These are why some scholars think that there were other humans or humanoid creatures that they took as their spouses. Now, I don't ascribe to that view because the Bible makes it pretty clear. Adam and Eve were the beginning of humanity. Eve is the mother of all the living. Adam just means mankind. The symbolism that's connected to the real characters portrays them as the ultimate human ancestors, created by the Lord, of course. Now, I'm not going to go with other people existing. Some scholars do that. I'm not. I'm going to go down the line that they took other people in their own family line. Here's how I address some of those objections from earlier. When it comes to things like incest becomes illegal in the Mosaic Covenant. But prior to that, there was no dedicated command from the Lord, and apparently little to no cultural fear of it or disgust of it. And given all that, people would not have seen it as immoral. There is the separate question of, wasn't it immoral even whether people had seen it as immoral or not? I would say not necessarily. Sometimes when God commands things, it's because of our very nature as people in relationship with God and relationship with others. Those kinds of commands that God gives are always in effect whether we specifically know them or not. Not murdering people, you don't need a specific command from God to know not to murder people. These things God has given us a conscience for, and we can know that they're right or they're wrong. Unless we've hardened our conscience or suppressing the truth, or we've deceived ourselves in other ways, we should be able to use the God-given conscience that He has bestowed on humanity. When it comes to things like this, issues of safety because of genetic drift. Genetic drift just means over the generations, DNA degrades. As more breeding and more mutations and more incest happens, DNA degrades, breeding pools become less diverse, and eventually you reach the point where you get severe physical and mental defects. So and this is what I hold to. You can feel free to disagree in the comments below and discuss it there if you want. God commanded against incest when incest became dangerous. Prior to that time, for the most part, incest was not dangerous. The DNA pool had not become so degraded that intermarriage within your own family caused serious defects. But since God did give the command at that time, we know that it is now something that would be immoral. So, given these things, we should not commit incest. We should marry outside of our family to a reasonable degree. Now, the thing about that is that what about other things going on during that time period? Do we have instances of people doing certain things similar to that? Yes, Abraham actually was married to his half-sister, even prior to that, even prior to the Mosaic covenant. God never, at that time period, tells him, you should not have married your half-sister. Now, the thing about that is technically an argument from silence, but if it was really important, just like marriage is, it would seem like God would at least have some sort of model set up, or maybe even directly tell him not to do it. That's not the case with everything. And as we are continually going through a series of these topics, we're going to see different things going on in this. We're going to see different things like that might challenge what you normally have heard. If you think that saying incest was okay during that time period but it's not okay now is stunning, well, you need to expand your mind a little bit and realize what kinds of things are immoral always because of the very nature of the act, and what things are immoral because of what they bring about, or what things are immoral and we don't fully understand why. Hopefully that will have answered that question to some extent. Now, thinking about how to engage with people in this, I would just say, don't. Unless they ask. This is not a gospel-centered topic. No one asks you, focus on the gospel and focus on Jesus. That does not mean don't know it. Please, research this more. Come to your own conclusion on this topic. Hopefully, it will be similar to mine. There's nothing wrong with me wanting you to do good reasoning, good thinking alongside me, and I think I did good reasoning, good thinking on this topic. And so that means I think if you do it as well, you'll be very similar to my position. Now, back to the other topic, how many kids could they have had? This was part of the other things that we were thinking about. They lived for a very long time. The genetic pool had not been corrupted quite as much as it is now, and God had extended their lifespans quite a bit. They lived into the several centuries old at least. If Adam and Eve had lived 700 years old, at least, and they definitely have lived more, they could have had a lot of kids. Even if they only had one kid every 9 months, that would be over 700 children. if they lived 700 years, because they were created as full-blown adults. Now, as those kids grow up, they take some of the other kids, they go off. It's a huge family. Then they have their own kids. They probably mature at a similar rate to how we do. And then they just live the rest of their lives very old. Like, they just continue to get older, but they don't really get as old as we. They don't suffer the effects of old age like we do as much. Similar to how Moses was said to have been strong and fit even into his 120s till the day he died. Not everyone is like that, especially these days. As we get older, we get weaker. And by the time of David, in one of his Psalms, he says, look, if you've blessed them, people have 70 to 80 years to live in this world. Which does say that if they lived past all the issues into their old age, people even during that time period would live to about 70 or 80 like we do now. Lifespans have not changed that much. It's about infant mortality rates that have changed quite a bit. Because of medicine, babies and other people typically survive longer past childbirth and other things. So, also, if you go look at people in China, and other large groups of families in Eastern countries, they have massive amounts of kids in 70 years. Way more than our westernized mindsets typically understand. That's their lives. Their lives is family and the work around the family. Adam and Eve probably had hundreds of kids. Hundreds upon hundreds of children. They had quite a bit of variety within their family. If they're the ultimate ancestors of people, that means everything available and needed for us to look the way we do today was available in their DNA. There could have been so much variety. And it was only as time went on that incest built up, the mutations built up from a sinful world. DNA degrades through the generations. God says, no more. Anyone who does this is sinning. I think it's at least in part due to the fact that incest had become very damaging and dangerous for families. There might have been other reasons that God knows and I do not, or maybe even that other scholars know that I do not. But that's definitely something to think about. And if you have any other questions, I'm going to deal with some of her other questions in a few more videos that I'm going to be putting up throughout the week. But either way, love you guys. God bless. Have a good day. Oh, and make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe this video. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment in the comments below, share it to your friends, especially those you think might be interested in it. As well as when you talk in the comments below, also, if you want, make sure you put down your own questions that you would like answered, or disagree with me, but when you disagree with me, please give me reasons why you disagree. Don't just say, I think you're wrong. Try to give me the reasons why you think I'm wrong. Alright. Love you guys. Bye.